106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Happy Friday, Chicago. This is your Friday evening weekend Chicago Corner host, Jerry Vasilatos. Welcoming you all to our Friday night edition of Chicago Corner. I'm looking at myself on the monitor. It seems I might be lagging a little bit, despite the fact I just rebooted my computer from scratch. So hopefully we won't have any problems with tonight's show. Maybe it's just about my internet catching up because we had a brief brownout here on the north side with electricity. But before I go any further, let me check out and see who's with us in the live chat. Oh, Miguel H. There's Kit. Speaking of Mr. Cabello.
Salutation and cheers.
How's it going?
I'm doing good. It's really good to be on the show with you guys. Let's kick some ass.
Let's do it. And speaking of kicking ass, here is our other colleague, who is also helping promote our other colleague, Kira McCown, with his Mud Queens t-shirt.
Hey, Jerry.
What do you got there?
You know, you were eating gummies the other day, and so I got my red fish over here.
You know, I didn't stock up on extra gummies for tonight. I should have.
These are pretty addictive.
They look, I know, those can be very addictive. Swedish fish?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are very addictive. And quite a bit to clean up afterwards when they stick to your teeth. But I do have my faithful Arizona raspberry lemon iced tea tonight. And, of course, show producer Oreo is already sticking in his 2 cents here.
Our official producer.
That's right. Well, let's go into our first story, guys. This has been dominating the news cycle this week. I'll bring it up to the stream here. The Texas governor who decided to ship migrants all over the country because he's a racist and a piece of shit and decided he was going to turn other people's misfortune into a political stunt and try to make sanctuary cities look like we're fools for accepting them. But let me go to the Fox 32 video. This was reported earlier this week, and it gives a pretty good overview of what went down just to refresh everybody's memories.
Live life on the go with
after the goddamn commercial.
To your health and wellness, personal visits,
Stand by.
Yeah, stand by for this nonsense. 7.
I got it.
Oh, you've got the video?
Breaking news.
The first
Thank
buses
you.
carrying migrants to Chicago from Texas have arrived.
They have, and let's get right to Nate Rogers at Union Station with the latest. Nate, what do we know?
Those migrant families, we're told, guys, left Union Station within the last 30 minutes or so. Many of the people were related, about 60 in total, working to escape the abuses and hardships in their native lands. Now, those migrants arrived here at Union Station on 2 large coach buses around 7:30 p.m. Lots of single mothers were seen. Also, many small children, many of the families from Venezuela. Texas Governor Greg Abbott had emergency officials organize the drop-off effort, saying it's in response to President Biden's open border policies overwhelming border communities in Texas. Washington, D.C. and New York are sanctuary cities as well. In fact, thousands of migrants have been crossed there since the spring from the Texas border. We spoke to one guy who described their journey to get to Union Station. Take a listen to what he told us.
We just crossed the border from Mexico yesterday, and they say that we were going to be assisted here, and that's not true. And so we are not asking for charity, but we just want to be assisted just to find at least a shelter or a place to stay. That's our main request.
Now, according to a statement from a mayor's office spokesperson, it reads, Chicago is and will continue to be a welcoming city.
Yes, it will.
We are collaborating across various city departments and with local, state, and community partners to ensure everyone who arrives in Chicago is greeted and treated with dignity and respect. Now, here at Union Station, we did see Office of Emergency leaders along with federal authorities who were here helping to give the group some instruction. Again, just about 30 minutes ago, we did see 2 CTA buses transport those migrants to another location. We asked an official on the scene where they were going. They said to a local shelter, and that more information would be coming from the city detailing how they're specifically going to help this group. That is the latest here at Union Station. Nate Rogers, Fox 32 Chicago.
Okay, let's take that screen down, Ed. Now, speaking of pieces of shit capitalizing on this as a political stunt, we have this from our local Alderman Raymond Lopez, who is resigning so he can run for mayor, saying, the news of undocumented non-refugees arriving by bus in Chicago overshadows an obvious yet amazing point. Both Greg Abbott of Texas and Chicago's mayor coordinated this delivery. Does anybody, we're no fan of Lori Lightfoot, clearly, we know this. But for Lopez to jump on that and make that kind of a claim is just laughable and absurd. Now, we also had obviously a statement from the mayor herself. Let me bring that up. This is reported from Marianne Ahern on Twitter. Today, the city of Chicago received confirmation that approximately 60 migrants were traveling to Chicago by way of Texas. Chicago is a welcoming city, and as such has collaborated across various departments and agencies to ensure we greeted them with dignity and respect. We understand that many are fleeing violent, traumatic, or otherwise unstable environments. We will respond with essential services while these individuals navigate the next steps of their journey, and our community partners have been working diligently to provide a safety net. As a city, we're doing everything we can to ensure these immigrants and their families can receive shelter, food, and most importantly, protection. Does anybody get a sense of irony with that statement? I'm very glad that she's offering this to the immigrants, right? Are we getting the same here with our own residents?
Okay.
Right.
I was noticing.
Let me finish the tweet, guys. This is not new. Chicago welcomes hundreds of migrants every year to our city and provides much-needed assistance. Unfortunately, Texas Governor Greg Abbott is without any shame or humanity. That's another bit of projection. But ever since he put these racist practices of expulsion, I agree with that, in place, we've been working with our community partners to ready the city to receive these individuals. We know that racism, discrimination, and human cruelty have played a pivotal role in how immigrants are received within our borders, and we are still working to recover from the previous presidential administration. Let's make sure to tweet that dog whistle like it has anything to do with how she's mismanaging things right now, which encourage this behavior. This is such an important moment for Chicago as a city, has been a sanctuary for thousands of newcomers. We're welcoming them, and we will not turn our backs on those who need our help the most. Okay, very good, great. I agree with that. I just find it ironic that clearly we have the budget to do all those things, but we don't have the resources to do other things we'll be talking about in subsequent stories that I'm going to transition to in the way I like to link story to story. But Kit, sounds like you wanted to jump in.
So there's an issue that I'm having here, especially with the how this whole thing is being situated. You know, yeah, Chicago is in theory a sanctuary city. However, I call into question just how long a lot of these migrants are going to stay here until they are conveniently thrown out. Now, what do I mean by this? In 2018, we covered a protest that was hosted by DSA as well as a couple other activist groups in Gary, Indiana, by the Gary Chicago International Airport. You would think that this would be a major hub, but it's an airport in the middle of nowhere. It's kind of hiding out there in plain sight. And when we were there, this was a location that ICE also had facilities in, which apparently there were 3 buses that were driving to that location with nonviolent illegal immigrants who would be chained up, climbing up the stairs. Now, because of the large amount of activist groups that were there, those buses did not arrive. but they drove through Chicago and were deported through the international airports from there. So,
so it's just a matter of time, is what you're saying. I mean, Lori's going to make a big scene now. We're going to welcome them. We're going to take care of them. But from your previous experience, you sense that's just more.
I see something very vile and underhanded playing out. I could see it happening. Now, look, if it doesn't happen, great. But let's look at the reason why we are having a refugee crisis here in America. It's not because everyone from Mexico, Central America, or South America have evil intent. No, they're escaping their countries because, one, there's ongoing drug wars, there's civil wars, coups that are taking place, economic instability, sanctions, and it's because really has to deal with the United States interfering in said elections, said government politics, the ridiculous war on drugs, as well as the sanctions that are being implemented on countries that maybe don't align with U.S. foreign policies.
Land of the free.
Let's be very clear that these are countries that, don't align with U.S. foreign policies, and it's causing a lot of economic hardship, political instability all across these regions. And so people rationally want to make sure that they have better lives for themselves, but also for their children. So they're going to take the arduous march to come here to the land of the free. But when we get down south of the borders, again, many of these children are still in cages. Hey, vote blue no matter who crowd, where are you at? Because the kids are still in cages. Mind you, a lot of these facilities were built under the Obama-Biden administration, carried on under the Trump administration, and still happening under the Biden-Harris administration. So I see something very vile happening. This might seem like a good story, but to those who are seeing this, understand that this is far more complicated. And I really hope that many of these immigrants who come here do get a better life. But I know all too well just what happens. There's always utter hypocrisy here.
This is a nation built on and by immigrants. And that current generations continue to ignore, deny that out of their bigotry, prejudice, and racism continues to astound me. I feel that I remember in history classes understanding the importance of immigrants and that this nation was founded. Despite the fact immigrants in previous generations faced racism and prejudice, they were still accepted because they were put to work building this country. Now you've got other migrants and immigrants coming from south of the border that essentially do all the work that, Americans don't want to do. They're demonized instead of the companies and corporations that hire and exploit them because they don't want to pay Americans a fair living wage. And it blows my mind that there's this disconnect from understanding with the diversity in this country. This is what our country's supposed to be about. Then you're going to have the people screaming, "Wow, they didn't do it legally. They didn't do it the hard way, the way our grandparents did." It was a different time, and it was a different system back then. It wasn't as hard to enter this country then as it is now. So to those who scream and shout and bang shake their hands that this is some kind of a criminal thing that most immigrants are doing coming into this country. I recommend they look into their own family ancestry and understand that we all came from somewhere before settling here and driving out the indigenous population and essentially, creating a genocide against them or engaging in a genocide against them.
And if you are a Native American, thank you for watching.
Sorry.
Sorry we took the land. It wasn't me. I mean, my family immigrated too. But that was way after. Yeah, there's a couple things. It's first off, let's talk about Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
Do you know how much this cost, Ed? Cost him, Texas taxpayers, who he claims that these migrants were going to take jobs away from?
I don't know how much do Greyhound buses cost these days.
Well, keep in mind, he bused them to sanctuary cities, not just Chicago, all across the country.
Yeah.
$12 million.
That's a lot of money.
$12 million.
And how much money would it cost for him to fix his electrical system in his state?
good question.
I
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know, but I would say $12 million would be, a
Probably
nice step toward that.
Yeah. Yeah, $12 million.
Instead, he's got to demonize people.
Yeah, because the U.S. is
Land of the free.
Land free.
And and you brought up and you made a good point earlier, Jerry. It's like Lightfoot is talking about how all these city services are going to come and help out all the people coming here.
Right.
What can we also have those services? I'm not saying that we shouldn't give services to the migrants. In fact, we absolutely should help them. I'm saying, can we help the citizens who are already here? We got a lot of homeless people still living, under bridges and stuff. We have a lot of people who need some financial or community support. I honestly, what surprises me the most, Jerry, is that she didn't promise to provide police services.
Well, the thing about Lori is that I
somehow
think
funnel it to the PD.
Lori has pretty much just picked up Rahm Emanuel's playbook that he left in the top drawer of his desk on the 5th floor. That I think the number one rule in Rahm's playbook is never let a good crisis go to waste. Right? We've got all these immigrants that have been bused to Chicago. There he is.
That's right, sucker. I can't stick to the roof anymore, though, because for some reason I can't find that overlay.
Because we had to make room for more drop-ins.
I take responsibility for what happened because it happened on my watch.
But let's get back to the point. Lori she's Rahm 2.0, 2 inches shorter. Right, as we like to say. So she's taking advantage of this crisis to put funds. Look, I have no problem with the funds helping these people either, but it really does highlight the hypocrisy and the irony of the fact that while we're always broke for everything else, once a crisis shows up that she can capitalize on before the election and win hearts and minds regarding those who are sensitive to the plight of immigrants, that's how she's going to capitalize on this.
What a fucking bitch, am I right?
It was a good pause there to drop something. Go ahead.
So the thing is, we have to remember that these are human beings, people, flesh and blood. They have real fears, wants, dreams. And the thing is, we have these politicians, both Democrat and Republican, taking advantage of their uncertainty and what's going to happen to them. Because again, that's a big question mark, uncertainty. What will happen to the families that come here in this city? Are they safe? Are they truly safe? And I can't even give a clear, confident answer for that because we've seen how people are used as pawns by these politicians. They don't think about us. They don't like us. They don't respect us. That's the real truth that we're seeing here.
Well, kid, I was going to save this for the end of the show, but I may as well bring it up now because in speaking to your point that these are clearly very, very vulnerable people that have been brought here, Block Club Chicago has shared an article on how we as Chicagoans can help migrants arriving in Chicago from Texas. Now, this was reported by Lee and Yassine at Block Club Chicago. Let me go through this. Local organizations have been working with the city to offer resources for newly arrived migrants. Here's how you can help out. The migrants were bused to Chicago from Texas. We know this. Chicago's officials were ready to greet them Wednesday night. We know that. To connect them with shelters and agencies that can help refugees find homes, jobs, and resources. The city has partnered with local groups to try and help the migrants rebuild their lives in Chicago or settle in other cities. Here's more on some of those groups and how you can support them. Now, this is also linked in our show notes, so you can always go to the description below and find our show notes on Google Docs. Erie Neighborhood House, the nonprofit with locations in Westtown, near West Side, and Little Village, provides mental health care, adult education and training, legal services, and other services for low-income and immigrant families. Erie and other community organizations have been doing this kind of work for years, said Isaiah Solis, the group's senior director of programs. Every time we have migrants that arrive, whether it be from Latin America, Central America, most recently Ukraine and Afghanistan, we've been providing a lot of support. Anyone interested in volunteering with or donating to Erie can go to its website or call 312-563-5800. Again, all this information is in the link in our show notes to the Block Club Chicago article. The organization works with hundreds of volunteers every year, Solis said. We love that the city of Chicago is a welcoming city. Thank you, Ed. A sanctuary city, Solis said. We're here to help. We're here to support. Our doors are open, and we want to make sure that we're part of the solution. Community Health is one of the largest volunteer-based health centers in the United States, offering free services to low-income, uninsured Chicagoans, which is primarily an immigrant population. External Affairs Director Laura Cerisi Starr said. The group has been in close contact with the mayor's office and other local groups to help the migrants. Now, I'm going to jump through to get to the end here. Community Health has 3 clinics. One at 2611 West Chicago Avenue, 5413 West Diversey Avenue, and 2759 South Harding. Anyone interested in learning more or becoming a volunteer can find more information in English, Spanish, and Polish on the Community Health website. Community Health has a huge volunteer base that provides many of the organization's services with roles for medical providers, interpreters, health educators, and more, Starr said. Next up, Southwest Collective. And let me also say, thank heavens for these groups that are going to probably catch those that are falling through the cracks or that are eventually abandoned by Lightfoot's efforts in time after this leaves the news cycle, after it leaves the light of the news cycle. The Southwest Collective is a group of neighbors and activists who have organized food giveaways and other services for residents in need throughout the pandemic. The group also offers an open forum for Southwest Side residents to voice their concerns, and it launches economic, educational, and recreational initiatives to bring the community together. Anyone interested in learning more about the Southwest Collective or helping out can visit its website. Thank you, Ed. Or reach out to Adriana Vargas, who is the group's board member and volunteer at Vargas at swcollective.org. The organization's biggest needs at the moment are diapers and baby formula, Vargas said. As the daughter of immigrants, it is very personal for me, Vargas said. When we had the city reach out to us, I right away raised my hand and said, I want to be on this call and I want to hear what's going on and how we can help. So everybody that has the ability to help, has resources to contribute, whether it be their time or supplies that need to be donated, check out the show notes and hopefully you can help pick up the slack that our representatives might not quite take care of.
Yeah.
This is crazy, though, how this governor pulled this. It's all a political stunt. All a political stunt meant to feed on the worst instincts of anybody, demonizing these people. And, we've seen this in the past also, how immigrants are always demonized, because they commit crimes. Yeah, white people commit crimes. Everybody commits crimes.
Yeah.
It's just racist dog whistles, as far as I'm concerned.
I truly do feel sorry for the families. Hopefully there will be some security for them, but I'm prepared to report about the worst.
Yeah. Yeah, sadly I do too. All right, I'm getting our next story tab up. This was a very sad story as reported by the Tribune, and I hope it opens for me, since I did subscribe to them, but somehow my Chrome browser is not always opening Chicago Tribune links. Ed, do you have that links ready on your end?
Hang on a second.
Perhaps?
Let's see if I can get it up. That's what she said.
That's what she said. Can never help it. There we go.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Yeah, I got to open my Safari browser to read this article. Give me a second here. I'm gonna get with you, Ed, because I think I got something in my Chrome browser that's, even though I've got a Tribune login, something's hinky, as we like to say.
Hinky.
Hinky again. All right. Oh my goodness. Sorry, guys. Copy the link. Paste it to Safari.
Hinky.
All right. Oh, we getting.
What does that mean? It's hinky.
Oh, strange.
Weird. Well, don't you say strange or weird? A hinky, that has no meaning.
We say hinky.
I don't want you guys using words around me that got no meaning.
That bought us some time. Is it opening up on your side? Good. Okay, so this happened this week. Very sad story. Chicago police officer dies by apparent suicide, officials say, as reported by Rosemary Sobal at the Chicago Tribune. Come on, browser. Here we go. Man. You
want me to read it, Jerry?
I got it. In at least the fourth such death since July, an off-duty Chicago police officer has died by apparent suicide, department officials announced on Thursday. The officer was pronounced dead at 2:35 p.m. in the 5600th block of North Karlov Avenue on the city's northwest side, according to the Cook County Medical Examiner's Office. Police took to Twitter to detail the death of the officer, who police did not name. The Chicago Police Department has experienced the heartbreaking loss of an off-duty officer today to an apparent suicide, the tweet said. We ask that the people of Chicago pray for this officer's family, loved ones, and fellow officers as they mourn this devastating loss. During the month of July, 3 officers died by suicide. They were sons, daughters, siblings, partners, friends, and mentors, Superintendent David Brown said then. In March, Sergeant Edward Doherty, 52, also died by suicide. There have been more than a dozen Chicago police officers take their own lives since 2018. The Chicago Police Department's problem with officer suicides was highlighted in a 2017 report by the U.S. Justice Department regarding the city's policing practices. At that time, one Chicago police official told the Justice Department that CPD suicide rate was higher than the national average among police. Now, Kathy Powers emailed me today. She also was referencing this article. And as the article said, it was 20 suicides since 2018. She asks, how many of the public have died by suicide since 2018? It's more than 20. Is a CPD life more valuable than a regular person? Now, I do not want to politicize this because this is a horrible, horrible thing that happened for this police officer's family. And I don't want to keep score regarding how many police officers committed suicide or how many Chicagoans or people in the public committed suicide. However, it really truly does point to the continued mental health crisis we have in this city. The first thing I wondered was, why aren't these police officers getting the mental health intervention and resources that they should be getting under the healthcare package that I believe CPD and Chicago Fire Department and any city public servant would receive in their healthcare packages. Additionally, it speaks a lot to, I think, just people being distracted by the constant state of mental health and lack of resources, whether you're in the police department or whether you're, someone on the street here in Chicago.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ed.
From the CPD perspective, though, why would they lack resources? They're the most well-funded part of the Chicago budget.
Yeah.
If anybody should have a properly funded system of health and mental support systems, it should be public safety police department. Where's that money going?
I completely agree, while also trying to tread lightly here and not use this officer's suicide as a way to scorekeep. But you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a scorekeep.
Right. I know you're not. But I do want to parse it that way. Now, in light of this officer's suicide, can you bring up the other Tribune story, Ed? I'll start reading from it. As reported by Paige Fry, City Council Committee discusses need for mental health resources for Chicago police officers. They're discussing it now. I'm wondering, why weren't they discussing it before? And why wasn't it in place with the amount of money that does go to the police department? To all the money that's shoveled to them for I don't know what, when we're told we're too broke to reopen our own mental health clinics for residents across the city that, in a preventative measure might help prevent some of the crime that we're shoveling boatloads of money to the police department to, incarcerate people for. And After a recent string of Chicago police officer suicides, mental health experts spoke with a city council committee Thursday afternoon on what can be done to support officers. This speaks to your point, Ed. Now they're discussing it. This has never been an issue. This is not the first time. I'm sure that CPD has suffered from, or CPD's rank and file has suffered from losing officers through suicide. Now, one could, cynically argue that maybe this is being trotted out now when everyone's looking at all of the other abuses by the Chicago Police Department, because this should have been something, I don't know, managed and handled for the past couple decades.
Jerry, do you think that they're just doing this now because this is the first time that all these suicides are starting to go so heavily public?
Well, I guess that's a good question. Maybe there were suicides in the past that were not as public. So yeah, maybe. But again, the cynical person in me wonders why that this is all trotted out now, that there's more light on police suicides, and then you've got the CEO of the Chicago chapter of the National Alliance on Mental Illness speaking before City Council now and sharing and telling the City Council what can be done to support officers. I ask, why wasn't that support there before for the past, I don't know how many decades? Now, Alexa James, CEO of the Chicago chapter of the National Alliance on Mental Illness, said her organization has been working with the Chicago Police Department since 2004 on crisis intervention training, and through that partnership identified a need to offer mental health support to officers. How many years ago is 2004? How many years we're talking about here? 24 years? Is it? No. Is it? No. 14 years? My math is off. Anybody get a calculator?
So, I'm sorry, I'm juggling. I'm spinning plates over here. I missed the question.
No, that's okay. So they've been counseling the Chicago Police Department on how to provide more support for their officers since 2004. Okay, 2022 minus 2000. This show how bad I am at math. That's 18 years ago they started advising the city and the Chicago Police Department on crisis intervention training. 18 years have passed. Now they're talking to City Council about how to provide the support. They say officers are more likely to lose their lives to suicide than any other manner of death in the line of duty. James told the Council's Committee on Public Safety. More than 10 Chicago police officers have died by suicide since 2018. Factors that contribute to these deaths are complex, she said. Police officers and firefighters have high rates of unsteadiness in the workplace. They experience continual trauma. Mm-hmm. I would say that that's also probably, unfortunately, reflected in bad training or inappropriate training or the right type of support to handle the mental health side of things. They also experience physical injuries that impact their mental wellness. This is unfortunately the perfect recipe for officers feeling hopeless and some using substances to manage stress and trauma response, both of which are major predictors of suicide. Law enforcement culture has focused on toughening up, and this has prevented officers from seeking out services, James said. To counter this, there needs to be significant investment and resources dedicated to a comprehensive wellness strategy, she said. I would almost say, geez, maybe if more mental health support was provided to the police department instead of this culture that's focused on toughening up. I don't know. Do you guys think we might be in better shape with less CPD abuse, less bad apples occupying the ranks when good people that want to be officers just can't handle the stress of the job or the lack of support given the job they're supposed to do? Elena Gottreich, the city's deputy mayor for public safety, told the committee the mayor's office recognizes the need to protect the predictability of officer schedules while also balancing the need to protect the public. The state issued a $10 million grant to the city for costs associated with first responder wellness programs. And I would say that $10 million was not enough, given what we were talking about. She was doling out a couple shows back to other programs throughout the city. There has been, that's right, the Police and Fire Academy was $98 million, more than $90 million is being spent on the Police and Fire Academy, while only $10 million, and it's a grant, to the city for costs associated with first responder wellness programs. That's for residents across the city, not for police. There's been a significant amount of reform within the police department. And I think if you talk to many officers, they have positively benefited from these reforms and from the fact that there is a more open conversation, Gottreich said. Now, that's, again, the city's deputy mayor of public safety. That's one of Lightfoot's puppets. Alderperson Silvana Tabaris of the 23rd asked how officers are supposed to use the mental health programs available for them when their days off are canceled. Gottreich said canceled days off have been pared down significantly, but there were extra days off canceled throughout spring and summer, which have now been scaled back, even while on-the-job officers have access to some of these resources. Tina Scahill, CPD's Director of Policing and Reform, said professional counselors attend roll calls and talk to officers about taking care of themselves. Ranking supervisors have also been trained to recognize when officers need time to take care of their wellness. All right, I will give benefit of the doubt and believe that. But obviously it's not going far enough. I mean, if we're to give benefit of the doubt and accept that there have to be some good actors within CPD, but they were advised by this representative of the mental health group in 2004, which was 18 years ago. Something's not sticking to the wall, right?
Yeah, well, I honestly, I think it's going to be difficult for them to give decent mental health services in a broken infrastructure of public safety and the way that the police departments operate now.
Yeah,
is that because they have basically a system that doesn't prioritize de-escalation, it makes it difficult for law enforcement officers to know where the line is as far as dealing with their own emotional issues regarding their trained behavior.
I also wonder about.
I hope that made sense.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. It was very eloquent. I also wonder what the guidelines are in place if an officer, has a certain schedule maintained, but really has to drop out and can't wait for their personal time or their vacation time to deal with a mental health crisis that they might be suffering through. James said that while she applauds the police department's peer support program, and I think this might speak to that, and clinical program, she's heard from focus groups that officers need other forms of support and wellness, such as stability and supervisors. She also said she learned that access to therapy can be tricky because it is difficult to access during work hours, and officers don't want to leave their partner alone. Wellness is not just about clinical care, she said. I think it's around communication strategies consistently that make officers feel supported. I think that it's hearing people's trauma and owning what that must feel like for them. Dr. Robert Sobel, director of CPD's Professional Counseling Division, said that within the last year, the budget has increased from 11 licensed clinicians to 22. So each district can have its own licensed clinician, but only 13 of those positions have been filled. Several offers were made to job applicants for the open positions, but they were turned down partly due to salary, which is just over $77,000, Scahill said. I have an idea where we can maybe cut down on salaries. Oh, I don't know, our older people who are earning what? 90,000 plus, or we reported last week what the going rate was for an older person. They feel that a job applicant to help cops manage mental health, that salary is only worth $77,000. Do you understand the kind of responsibility therapists have to deal with?
Yeah, what was the alderman's average salary? Double that?
Yeah, I think it was I want to say either it was over 90, and they were talking about an increase to 140,000. I don't remember the exact numbers, unfortunately, but I do remember numbers within 90,000 and 140,000 as we were talking about the increase in older people's salary. I think from when Daley was mayor through Lightfoot now. As we're talking about raises, salary raises. Yeah. I can understand why nobody wants to take that job for $77,000 with the stress. I mean, they're going to need their own mental health counseling, dealing with all of these poor, broken officers. It's a lot to carry.
Yeah.
I also think they need to staff more. I don't think that that's enough. I don't think 22 clinicians is enough. So each district can have its own licensed clinician. One clinician in each district at $77,000 a year, handling how many potential cases with police in that department that might be dealing with whatever mental health crises they're dealing with. It's not enough. But then when you know how much money's gone to CPD, guys, right? How is it that these resources are not in place since when?
I'll tell you why.
Yeah, where's the money going?
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
Go right ahead.
Similar to the military, because look, you guys were making a lot of great points. It's kind of hard for me to really follow up on it, but I'll tell you why none of it's going to mental health. Similar to the military, the individual, the person, is not the most expensive thing there. The dogs are more expensive. The tactical gear, the heavy armor and armaments, the heavy vehicles, all the resources needed to keep the entire administration going. That's where the money is going at. Taking care of the person doesn't matter to the establishment or to anyone running the CPD. So while the officers do have some pensions here and there, but anything to help them out with their mental health, that what they're given and what they're told is to suck it up. Just suck it up. And I only can imagine what kind of things that they are dealing with, what they're seeing, because let's face it, there are good cops in the force. There are, not a whole lot, because again, CPD is racked with corruption. But and again, Gene is breaking up some good points. Think about the stuff that they see and the violence and the mental trauma that they keep hidden within. They probably do abuse partners of theirs, girlfriends, wives, all of that. Their families. It's just it's a sick system that's there, and it's not designed to take care of the people.
I'm really enjoying Gene's comments, and I am noticing there aren't a lot of other people taking part in the comments, but this last comment from Gene, perhaps people who choose to be police officers also have issues that relate to higher rates of suicide. They seem to have other mental health issues as well as tyrant syndrome. Yeah. I think that's what we see leads to a lot of the abuse that we see all the time by police officers. There's another comment. This comes from Steve Wolfbrandt. My brother was a cop. They deal with negative people all day long. Most are alcoholics to deal with. Most are alcoholics to deal with it. Divorce is very high. Gene also shares, I think the cop's job description should change to peace officers, and part of the time they do community service work. Gene, that's a great idea. Plus, we've talked about this on the show many times, that there's got to be some policy in place that assigns police officers to work within the neighborhoods that they live in. Because if they are more exposed to their neighbors around them, they're not going to be looking at strangers as enemies that they have to fear for their lives all the time. Then you've got a police officer working in their own community with their own neighbors, looking at coming together for solutions and to try to build a better community, not, making it like a military force occupying another neighborhood, having a bunch of cops that don't know or don't live in a neighborhood who are automatically, afraid that, they're going to be targeted. So they engage in all kinds of abusive behavior to begin with. But it's a very interesting story in that, we wonder, and Kit kind of answered the question. Obviously, the officers are not the priority.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
They're replaceable. They are replaceable. And knowing how, again, we've covered on this, how the CPD will, go after, police departments will go after people who don't have a higher education, or either that will just meet the bare minimum. They're replaceable. Everyone's replaceable. You are replaceable at your job.
So to wrap out this article, Matt Richards, Deputy Commissioner for Behavioral Health at the Chicago Department of Public Health, said there is a mental health workforce shortage, and the city is competing for candidates going into private practice and looking to work telehealth from home. Lopez said the city is missing the mark even with its commitment towards getting clinicians in each district. No one takes lightly the job that our officers do, Lopez said. You have some work to do, and we shouldn't just be sitting by because real lives are in danger.
Yeah.
And
I think it's worthwhile saying that I think they would have less mental health issues if they didn't have so many responsibilities that they shouldn't be doing in the first place. There's a number of community support systems that the city could focus their resources and funds on instead of putting it all on police. They should be part of the system. They shouldn't be an overarching part of the system.
Yeah, I'm bringing up a link from Twitter here that also, I think, addresses a big part of the problem as we're talking about the lack of priority to healthcare, not just to the police, but to the general public. Alderman Daniel Espada shared almost 2 years after it was initially funded, Chicago's care teams only operate in 2 police districts and only respond to mental health crises from 10:30 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Yeah, because mental health crises don't happen at other hours of the day.
Right.
Only between 10:30 and 4.
Yeah. Which, as I like to link my stories, also leads to the state of Chicago's mental health care plan, which invests in services, not reopening clinics. And please let me... Oh, Oreo, stop. Sorry, guys. Do you have that story you can bring up, Ed?
The WTTW?
Yes.
Story?
Yeah, and I think there might be video with it. And if there is, I'd like to run that video.
Okay, hang on.
I'm opening it on my... Yeah, I'm just trying to... Things are slow on this end. Yeah, there is video.
Okay.
Some community organizers are calling for the city to reopen mental health clinics. In 2012, Mayor Rahm Emanuel's administration closed half of the city's clinic. Mayor Lori Lightfoot...
Ed, can you pause it for a moment?
...the centers, but has focused her tenure...
I do also want to share this clip in this report was from 2021, last April, but nothing has changed after we see what Espada shared on Twitter. So
I also want to add on to here too that before Chicago Corner became the channel that we see it, we used to have segments talking about the mental health facilities being shut down under Rahm Emanuel. Lightfoot, when we interviewed her, when we saw her during the debates in 2019, she was talking about, we got to reinstate them. We got to reestablish them. She didn't do that.
Half of the city's clinics. Mayor Lori Lightfoot campaigned on reopening the centers, but has focused her tenure so far on investing in organizations that provide mental health care. This fall, the city announced 32 organizations on Chicago's south and west sides would receive $8 million to expand services. Joining us to discuss calls for the clinics to be reopened and the city's mental health initiatives are Diana Castaneda, Director of Youth and Crisis Services at Community Counseling Centers of Chicago, which is among the organizations receiving funding from the city. Arturo Carrillo, a licensed clinical social worker and leader of Collaborative for Community Wellness, a group working to address access to mental health care in Chicago.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got to stop this. Who's got better hair, this guy or Kit?
I do. Come on.
I think it's a toss-up.
I think it's
a toss-up to me.
No,
come on.
Kit's got much better. No, Kit's got better hair.
Well,
come on.
It's the well-cultivated news hair.
That's right. You're goddamn skippy.
It's all about the volume.
It's all about volume, folks.
Matt Richards, Deputy Commissioner of Behavioral Health at the Chicago Department of Public Health, and Amika Tindaji, Director of Black Lives Matter Chicago. She's organized around reopening the mental health clinics with Stop Chicago. Welcome all of you to Chicago Tonight. So earlier today, we spoke with Woodlawn resident Horace Washington Howard about how the clinic closure impacted his mental health services. He says he used to live just blocks away from the Woodlawn Mental Health Clinic before it closed. Let's listen.
The closing of the Woodlawn Clinic impacted me very much so. At that time, it took almost 3 to 6 months to even get a therapist. And now I was traveling by L and bus to Lawrence, which is 40-some hundred north.
Arturo Carrillo, remind us what impact the closure has had on residents and the communities they served.
Yeah, it's already exacerbated a big problem in the city of Chicago. We've seen through recent research that there's an overwhelming demand for mental health services, and there's just not enough clinicians in low-income communities of color. We see the disparity actually is a ratio that we've seen where 22% of the city's residents living in the most affluent neighborhoods have an access of 4.5 therapists per 1,000 community residents, whereas low-income communities of color, low-income communities in general, have an access ratio of 0.2 therapists per 1,000 community residents. And so that's an enormous disparity we're talking about.
Matt Richards, the mayor announced in the fall, as we mentioned earlier, just over $9 million being allocated to 32 organizations on the city's south and west sides. Tell us about how that program is working to help those most in need of mental health services.
Thank you, Brandis. Yeah, I mean, the mayor's strategy has involved tripling the city's mental health budget in her first 2 years in office. So it's been a really significant investment, and we've been very focused on expanding care to service providers who provide care regardless of ability to pay, health insurance status, or immigration status. We made that $8 million investment in 34 community areas, primarily on the south and west side. All those services are up and running. They have been since October 1st of last year. We've integrated mental health professionals, or about to, across the city's 911 system for the first time. We're funding team-based care because not all patients, especially patients with more complex needs, may benefit from having folks come to them rather than them needing to come into a clinic. We've incorporated mental health services across the city's entire homeless shelter system. So we've been incredibly busy because we've tripled that budget. There's no doubt we have more work to do, but we're really committed to continuing to do it.
Amika Tendaji, of course, you're among
we can stop
the
there,
folks who
I
are
think
calling on the
I think you
city.
kind of get the idea.
Yeah, it sounds like these people are trying, but they're not even close to being well funded or given enough resources in order to do it properly for the city.
Some great comments from Gene. Isn't it the American way to suffer in silence and just pull yourself out of any mental health issues by pulling on your own bootstraps? Yes, Gene, I can completely relate. I think many of us have been guilty of that. 0.2 therapists per 2,000. Why not say 1 per 10,000 people? Shameful, 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 shameful. All right, let me move into our next story. Our unesteemed mayor, Lori Lightfoot, decided to shit all over the legacy of our previous mayor, Eugene Sawyer, and quite obviously ended up pissing off his son, who's also running for mayor now, to the degree where she also decided to carry out her vendetta against him by cutting him as a speaker at a ribbon-cutting ceremony in his own ward after the spat that he had with her. Now,
I'm sorry, Jerry, cut you off, but again, this is supposed to be the executive, the commander of our city, and she can't keep her emotions in check. Now, I'm going to say that again. She can't keep her emotions in check. She's extremely petty. She has the ego 3 times the size of the city. Dare I say, I think her ego's the size of the moon. She cannot think ill of herself. She will not take criticism. She's extremely thin-skinned. And one more time, just maybe to piss off some of her diehard supporters, if there are any left in this city, she cannot keep her emotions in check without once again causing further political instability within the city of Chicago. I hope this gets people angry because, again, this is Mayor Lightfoot, who has a long, sad history of having vendettas, causing rivalries, and snapping at anyone that dares criticize her or the failure of her entire administration. And let's face it, her administration is a failure. She has made this city a joke. She is a joke of a mayor, and she cannot, under any circumstances, get reelected. And as far as I'm concerned, if she is to be reelected, it will be a serious downfall for the city. I know our audience, some people who have joined us here from Hardlands Media, a lot of people are burnt out by electoral politics, but I'm going to say this. This Chicago election will be important because it's a matter of fact that we got to vote her out of office. Now, do any of these other mayoral candidates step up, shine up? You know what? When the debates start, hopefully one of them will stand out to get her out of office. And she's got to go. Simple as that.
Well, let's share what came from Fox 32, what preceded the mayor preventing mayoral challenger Roderick Sawyer from a ribbon-cutting ceremony within his own ward. This comes to us from Fox 32, and I hope that there's no commercial. I just loaded the window.
Why do we connect?
Of course there is.
We
Right.
connect.
Give us a second. Give us a second.
Why do we connect?
Why do we connect? 9, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, here we go. Your video will resume in 3 seconds. All right.
And for you to just wildly label them as white racist, I think does a disservice to you and a disservice to the city of Chicago.
Today, comment she made about his now deceased father. Mayor Lightfoot spoke yesterday at a Southside restaurant.
Now with more. Anthony and Sally, as Mayor Lightfoot seems to have picked up the left when he died in 1987. And yesterday, she suggested the black mayor who replaced him.
So Mayor Lightfoot suggested that the black mayor who replaced Washington, who was Roderick Sawyer's father, Eugene Sawyer, basically decided to kowtow to the white race.
Tried to do being blocked by a racist.
All right, fuck the video. I can't. I just can't deal with this, and I'm sure our viewers can't either. I'm really sorry. We have anytime we want to stream a video from somewhere, we have these problems. But in a nutshell, before I can get this stupid screen down. So what Lori Lightfoot did was she decided to disparage Mayor Sawyer's legacy by claiming once he took office after Harold Washington passed away, he was kowtowing to the white racists in city council, which included Alderman Verdoliak. I think Burke was also alderperson back then. Now I'm trying to bring the article up so I can read from that instead. With some of the other details. Hang on, guys. God, this is annoying. I got multiple windows up here, guys. It's not that I'm not prepared. Okay, so here it is. So, from the article from Mike Flannery. On Tuesday, Lightfoot appeared to label her half dozen or so African-American challengers as false prophets. Her allies, including West Side Alderman Jason Irvin, have argued that multiple black candidates could divide the vote. 4 years ago, Lightfoot and Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle, two black women, emerged from a crowded field to compete in the mayoral runoff election. While speaking at a Southside restaurant Tuesday, Lightfoot offered her version of the 1980s. After 4 years of everything that Harold Washington tried to do, being blocked from a racist mob at city council, said Lightfoot, that same mob that blocked him from doing anything picked the one that they wanted, the one that they thought they could control, and December 2nd, 1987 is when Gene Sawyer was instituted as the mayor of the city. So what is she doing there, guys? She's calling Gene Sawyer and Uncle Tom. That's what she's doing.
That again just shows you what kind of person Lightfoot is. She is willing to play dirty and do a low blow to anyone in this race. She doesn't care about family. She has no integrity. And look, all these politicians deserve criticism, but here you have Mayor Lightfoot talking all this BS. But the thing is, I remember 2019 when there was a fight between Tony Preckwinkle and Lori Lightfoot. And, the thing is, it's very interesting that they're saying that now all these candidates, especially the black candidates, are going to divide the black vote here in the city of Chicago. But at the end of the day, what I want Lightfoot and all these politicians to remember, and especially all these mayoral candidates to remember, is that they have made it all, at least Mayor Lightfoot and the previous other mayoral administrations, have made it extremely difficult for people on the South Side and West Side to go out to vote. They've made it extremely difficult for people to know what ward they are in. And the thing is, good luck in getting voter turnout when leadership fails. Who's going to be inspired? So the thing is, this whole idea that somehow the other candidates, the other black candidates, are going to divide the black vote. No, actually, I don't see that happening at all, because all across Chicago, there are people who have a lack of confidence in all these Chicago politicians. So good luck, mayoral candidates, in inspiring people to turn out to vote, because whoever can inspire the North south, and west side, and especially the north side, to turn out to vote, you have the power. Because at the end of the day, look, I'm a South Sider through and through. But let's look at statistics. Let's look at voter turnout. Whoever can command the higher voter turnout on the north side is the winner of the Chicago mayoral election. Simple as that.
She's also further dividing the city, Kit, by not acknowledging that what you just said. You have to unite blacks, whites, Latinos, everybody. And that she is basically trying to divide she's trying to signal to the black population of the city that these other black candidates that will divide the vote are doing so to what? Enable the white racist aldermen that we know that we have? Let me finish the article here, though, because it does get to some points with what Roderick Sawyer also has to share. So, established, Lori's claiming that the city's alderman in 1987 selected Gene Sawyer to the mayor's office because they thought that they could control him. And then what happened just a few short years later, Lightfoot added, that same mob dropped him like a bad habit, right? In an interview with Fox 32, Sawyer's son, Alderman Roderick Sawyer, who was a mayoral candidate, said Lightfoot defamed his father's memory. He said he doesn't expect her to apologize to him, but told her to apologize to others, including Alderman Harry Osterman. Alderman Harry Osterman of the 48th, a sometimes Lightfoot ally, called her comments disgraceful. His late mother, Kathy Osterman, was among the council members who voted for Eugene Sawyer in 1987. My mother was not part of a, quote, racist mob. Kathy Osterman worked with Mayor Washington and brought people together, said Osterman. For you to just wildly label them as white racists, I think does a disservice to you and a disservice to the city of Chicago, said Sawyer.
Am I right?
This...
I beg your pardon, what did you say?
That Lightfoot routinely pulls out of her toolbox to disparage, smear, and separate Chicagoans without actually paying attention to solving the problems that they're suffering from. Alderman Roderick Sawyer said his friend was a close confidant of Harold Washington and the first city council member to endorse him for mayor. I don't even think fucking Lori Lightfoot lived in Chicago when Harold Washington was mayor. Is there any way to find out where she was living? I don't think she was a resident in Chicago. I mean, she came from what state she grew up. What state she grew up in?
I think we got Detective Edward on the case.
Yeah, I'll take a look.
On the case. And I might be wrong.
What years was he mayor?
So Washington passed away in 1987, and that's when Eugene Sawyer was appointed. Eugene Sawyer was a close confidant of Harold Washington and the first city council member to endorse him for mayor. When Washington's allies took control of the city council, Eugene Sawyer became president pro tempore and chairman of the Powerful Rules Committee. Roderick said his father felt compelled to take the mayor's post for fear that otherwise unfinished agenda would not have been completed. This is who Lightfoot is disparaging with her divisive identity politics. Eugene did win passage of Chicago's first human rights ordinance, extending civil rights protections to gays and lesbians. That's who Lightfoot just decided to disparage. Returning to Lightfoot, Roderick said, do your homework. I would say, if I was Roderick, I'd say, do your fucking homework about what was going on back then. I know you weren't there for most of it. I was. Okay, here we go. Lightfoot, an Ohio native, moved to Chicago in the 1980s. Lightfoot's Chicago history lesson also omitted the role of current Cook County Circuit Court Chief Judge Timothy Evans. He ran against then incumbent Mayor Sawyer in 1989, the year Richard M. Daley was first elected to City Hall. Fox 32 reached out to Lightfoot's aides for a response.
Didn't get one.
So that's what preceded these shenanigans.
She graduated from University of Chicago in 1989 with her Juris Doctor degree, which I'm guessing is a law degree. That's a law degree.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Doctor of Law, yeah, okay.
So that is what preceded her carrying out her. I don't think that there's anything that Alderman Sawyer said that was uncivil. I don't think it was at all controversial. I think the facts are the facts. So quite naturally, He was cut as a speaker at the ribbon cutting ceremony in his own ward. This comes to us from Fran Spielman. Mayoral challenger Roderick Sawyer said Friday he was cut out of the speaking program at a ribbon cutting ceremony in his ward just days after accusing Mayor Lloyd Lightfoot of disrespecting the legacy of his father, former Mayor Eugene Sawyer. Hours before the ceremonial opening of the Mahalia Jackson Court public outdoor plaza in Chatham, Sawyer said he got a call from one of the organizers informing him that the mayor's office had demanded that Lightfoot be the only one who speaks because it's only her voice that resounds across the city of Chicago.
What a fucking bitch, am I right?
Aren't you guys?
I beg your pardon, what did you say?
What a fucking bitch, am I right?
That's what you said.
Aren't you guys? I found that drop in.
God, it's great.
Yeah.
I said, okay, so Lightfoot be the only one who speaks. I said, okay, I'll tell you what then. I'm not coming to the event. I'm not going to be disrespected like that. I'm not going to waste my time and listen to her claim credit for something she had nothing to do with, Sawyer said. Sawyer accused the mayor's office of silencing him in retaliation for his demand for an apology from Lightfoot. Lightfoot campaign spokesperson Christina Frundlich had no immediate comment. At a petition signing event at a Southside restaurant this week, Lightfoot essentially called the elder Sawyer, who died in 2008, a political puppet of a racist mob. We know the details on that. Now, the sixth ward.
Sorry, puppet calling who a puppet?
Yeah. The sixth ward alderperson accused the mayor of tarnishing and distorting his father's legacy. She's trying to be super black. White people have abandoned her. Lakefront has abandoned her. She needs a constituency that she can try to depend on, so she wants to be ultra black, Sawyer said. Not at my expense. Leave my name and my family's name out of her mouth. Sawyer said his father was a puppet of no one who delivered Washington's entire legislative agenda. Everything that Harold Washington tried to do when he was in office and was unable to fulfill, my dad fulfilled every single one of them in 15 months. Human rights ordinance, lights at Wrigley Field, labor, peace, everything that Harold talked about and wasn't able to finish, my dad finished it, the younger Sawyer said. Even things against his own interests, like the 1988 Dream Team slate. Everybody knew Daley was going to run against my dad. My father still supported the slate because that's what Harold wanted to do. Sawyer said he was equally incensed by the suggestion that his father was installed by a racist mob. I knew these people, and the ones that are still alive, I know these people, they're friends. They were friends of my dad. It's beyond the pale. I just don't understand how somebody could be so petty. Retiring Alderman Harry Osterman of the 48th did not return repeated phone calls. In an interview this week with Fox 32, Osterman branded the mayor's remarks about his mother disgraceful. For you to just go wildly label them as white racists, I think does a disservice to you and a disservice to the city of Chicago. Last fall, Lightfoot was the one being accused of disrespecting the legacy of Harold Washington. During a stormy closed-door meeting last fall, Lightfoot complained about being attacked by black leaders over a $31.5 million guaranteed basic income pilot program, which was seen as a handout for Latinos that didn't include reparations. Alderman Carlos Ramirez Rosa later said the mayor had argued she's poured a fucking ton of money into black communities and that no mayor, not even Washington, had done more for the African-American community than she had. Ramirez Rosa said that he was shocked and taken aback by Lightfoot's bold claim.
This mayor's got to go.
She's got to go.
She's mentally unstable. She's emotionally unstable. She's leading the city down a very dark path. She is not emotionally responsible, mentally responsible. She's just got to go. All right. And the thing is, like, look, she lets her emotions rule her. I'm going to say that again. She lets her emotions rule her because she obviously can't keep herself in check. She's supposed to be the leader of the city, but she can't keep her ego in check because she has so much uncounted, unchecked pride. She is making herself out to be bigger than she already is, than she ever will be. And she really can't compare herself to any other politician here in the city of Chicago. And yes, all of these politicians, they're all hypocrites through and through. But at the end of the day, Lightfoot's legacy will be known as the petty mayor. And that's who she is. And in fact, that's the title she should get. The petty mayor. Not the pretty mayor. The petty mayor. The petty mayor who, again, causes divisionness in the city, who causes the people to go against each other. Mayor Lightfoot is somebody who thrives off of drama, emotion, and pettiness. Simple. And I hope people do share this message far and wide, because that's who she is. There's nothing nice to say about her. Can anyone really in this city say with pride that they're happy with Lightfoot's leadership? I'm not. And I'm pretty sure if you ask any other Chicagoan, they'll tell you the exact same thing. Maybe, yes, she's dealing with a lot of stress, but clearly the stress is getting to her. Maybe, you know what, guys? She looks a little tired. That's what she looks like. She looks tired, doesn't she?
She looks
really tired.
You know what scares me, Kit, though, everything you're talking about, you know, her winning re-election because we don't have enough people come out to vote against her. I think people have lost hope that their votes actually matter for anything. Therefore, they don't come out and vote. Therefore, petty little tyrants like her get reelected over and over and over again.
Yep.
And as we mentioned in a previous show, the city and the people who are handling the upcoming elections are thinking, oh, well, since less people voted last time, we should close more precincts.
Right.
That'll get more people out to vote.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of mayoral candidates, and this one has a tie to CPD or law enforcement. You want to talk about stress on the job as a police officer? This former CPD police officer, Frederick Collins, has more than 40 misconduct complaints. Now he's running for mayor. I think we can check this guy out. Thank you. Yep. Here he comes. I think this article pretty much disqualifies his candidacy, so we can check. We got to get it. We're going to have to put a mayoral bingo card together as scandals come out to X each candidate that doesn't have a fucking shot in hell anymore. All right, so this came to us from Kelly Garcia at Chicago Reader. Frederick Collins is not shy about his troubling record as a Chicago police officer. The 53-year-old second-time mayoral candidate flaunts his nearly 30 years on the force and publicly embraces the decades-long list of complaints on his file. They're merely accusations to him. You want to talk about someone who doesn't want to take accountability or responsibility the way Lightfoot does? Here's another one. I think this just speaks to why he's completely, utterly just not suitable for the mayor's office. According to records obtained by the Reader, 42 complaints have been filed against Collins with police oversight agencies since 1995. This is a career complaint officer. Collins, however, denies all of the allegations. All of the allegations, guys. I certainly wasn't found guilty of anything because I still carry my star, Collins said. I don't think that's a worthwhile excuse, okay?
That's also not how it works.
Yeah, right? There are a lot of cops who can make that claim that are still serving that should probably be in jail. They should have had their jacket.
Yeah, we investigated ourselves and found that we were not at fault.
Right. I certainly wasn't found guilty of anything because I still carry my star. He flatly denied that any of the accusations against him have even been sustained. No, they were not sustained, he told the Reader when asked. According to CPD records, 20% of the allegations against Collins were sustained, meaning investigators found enough evidence to warrant discipline. The records include investigations conducted by 3 police oversight agencies that have been rebranded over the course of Collins' career. Rebranded. That means they're shuffling people around so that nothing sticks. Thanks to the community organizing efforts that had some success in reforming police accountability, the Office of Professional Standards was established in 1974 and replaced by the Independent Police Review Authority in 2007. The Civilian Office of Police Accountability, COPA, replaced IPRA in 2016 following the murder of Laquan McDonald, and by then, Chicago police officer Jason Van Dyke. The agencies have had varying degrees of success in holding police officers, including Collins, accountable for misconduct. Some of the complaints in his file detail incidents in which Collins used excessive force on people, including young children, like when he allegedly shoved a boy's head into a locker while working as a security guard at an elementary school on the West Side in 2008. What ages attend elementary schools, guys?
Oh my God! I'm just thinking about ages
up through age 11, I think.
10, 11.
Yeah. Other complaints give us a glimpse into the accusations that Collins sexually assaulted and harassed women, such as 2000, when he allegedly invited himself into the home of a complainant and inappropriately touched her. Of all the complaints that were sustained, Collins never received more than a 30-day suspension. He was fired.
Well, if it was never more than 30 days.
He was fired by the Chicago Public Schools for using excessive force on a student, but he was reinstated the following school year. At one point, Collins was accused by his supervisors of working part-time for the Chicago Park District while faking medical leave as a police officer. In 2013, a woman sued Collins for attacking her inside a Walgreens and arresting her without justification.
Keep reading, Jerry.
No, I don't. This is not the right place for the clown car.
Oh, okay.
Let's take this down. We're talking about a woman's attack. In 2013, a woman sued Collins for attacking her inside a Walgreens and arresting her without justification. The woman sued Collins and the city, according to court documents. She had stopped at the Walgreens after finishing her waitressing shift. When she encountered Collins, the woman told Collins he'd illegally parked his car, and he followed her into the store, forcibly grabbed her arm, causing bruising, then grabbed her in a bear hug from behind, and then forcibly hauled her to the area of the pharmacist in the store. He then produced a badge and arrested the woman, who was attempting to call 911. IPRA investigators closed the case because the complainant refused to sign a sworn affidavit, but the city settled the lawsuit for $35,000. Collins says he believes wholeheartedly in his innocence concerning all 42 complaints, in part because he's still a police officer. Now he's also running to be mayor of Chicago. Under my administration as mayor, due process will be granted to everyone, Collins said. The full investigation can actually occur, not just settling accusations without any investigation whatsoever, just so you don't take the risk of finding out whether you're going to pay more for a lawsuit or not pay for a lawsuit at all. To me, that makes no sense. That has got to stop. It just makes it so the city is just an open checkbook for anyone.
This is such a crock of shit.
Okay, yeah, we don't need the clown car for this one. We can just dismiss him.
Yeah, well, let's continue.
Gotta go.
Let's continue. Still warn everybody.
Do we have to?
Filed by the OPS, Collins lived in Woodlawn near 59th and Wabash during the 90s. Residents frequently complained that Collins would threaten them with false arrest while also physically and verbally abusing them. In 95, a man accused Collins of searching his car near 59th and Wabash. The complainant told investigators that when he approached his car, Collins pointed a gun at him, threatened him with false arrest, and told him he would tow his car. This is, I'm not going to go, we don't need to go any further. The article is linked below. This guy is a piece of shit. And now that this has been, not only the fact that his record of abuse and misconduct has been exposed, but his fucking attitude at not taking any responsibility for it and acting like guys, this is like toxic narcissism. This is toxic sociopathy. Okay, this guy is a sociopath. He has no empathy. He has no remorse. He has no conscience over all of these allegations of misconduct on his record, and he thinks he's above it all because he's an entitled piece of shit. And I would also reference him as...
What a fucking bitch, am I right?
Agreed.
It's not gender specific, guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's time to show Mr. Collins to the door.
Hey, Joe, hit it with a good Lord split ya.
Yeah.
All right. And also, by the way, Steve Wolfbrand gave us a YouTube super chat.
Oh, thank you, Steve. I'm sorry I missed that. If you could pop that up, Ed, on your end, if you're able to.
It says, Kit's hair versus Jackson Hinkle's perfect hair. Democracy in the chat, let's vote. And I told people type 1 for me, type 2 for Jackson. It looks like I'm winning, so there you go. I won.
Oh, I had no doubt that would be the case.
Of course. Of course.
All right, so speaking of possible...
Jackson, so there you go.
Speaking of possible strategies to ending this reign of terror we're dealing with under Lightfoot and some of these clowns that are running, I found an article from WBEZ, as reported by Sarah Karp and Maria Wolfel. Can the Chicago Teachers Union take the mayor's office? They've tried many times in the past with other candidates. In most recent memory, their previous president, Karen, remember her last name? Sadly, she got sick and she passed. I think it was a brain tumor.
Yeah, cancer. Yes.
Karen. Maybe they'll mention it in the article. I know her first name was Karen. Let me get into the article though. So I mean, it's not the first time that they've been trying to see if they can unseat the mayor.
Karen Lewis.
Karen Lewis. Thank you.
I interviewed her before she did pass away.
What was that? So, what were your perceptions of her?
I think were it not for the cancer, I think she would be a formidable political opponent. I don't want to predict the future, but if she was an active player in, if not the mayoral race between Ram and Chewy, because Chewy did fill in for her, right. I think I don't know how that race would have gone if Karen did stay in, but knowing how 2019 played out, I think she would have made it all the way to the general election, where she would have been faced off against either Lightfoot or Prep Winkle, and I think she had what it took to lead the CTU, but also, dare I say, a potential to be mayor of the city of Chicago. We may never know. We could what up the scenario as much as we want, but she was very honest, and I was very glad to have the privilege to interview her before she passed away.
Now, she stepped up because of her arch rivalry with Rahm Emanuel, who was constantly demonizing the teachers union, and constantly, enacting policies that were detrimental to kids across the city. So, she stepped up, and I remember at the time I was rooting for her because I thought, this woman's spunky. She's got the guts to stand up to, the 9-digit midget, as I like to call him. But getting back to the article. When Chicago Teachers Union President Stacey Davis Gates spoke to civic leaders and community organizers in downtown Chicago last week, she made two things clear. She's not running for mayor, but her union will take on the incumbent in the 2023 city election. You all know you need a new mayor, Davis Gates told the crowd during her speech on August 22nd. Davis Gates put to rest months of speculation that she might run for mayor against Lightfoot, but she simultaneously fueled the idea that another union staffer will run in her place. Brandon Johnson, who joined her at the press conference after the speech. Johnson, a Chicago Teachers Union organizer and Cook County commissioner, told WBEZ on Monday that he hasn't made a final decision about running, but that petitions are being circulated on his behalf. Thank you. It's humbling that there are a number of people who are asking me to do this, said Johnson, who worked as a Chicago public school teacher and lives on Chicago's West Side. It's a matter of recognizing a moment and being incredibly humbled by it. Whether Johnson has the funding or name recognition to galvanize voters is unclear, but the prospect of a CTU-backed candidate raises a tantalizing political question. Does the city's most powerful union have enough clout and power to install one of its own in City Hall? I think things would run a whole lot smoother if you had a mayor that was an ally of the teachers union as opposed to a rival of them, as we've seen with so many previous mayors. Ultimately, our city's future depends on the young people who are going through our woefully underfunded and neglected school system here in the city of Chicago. And teachers are on the front lines. They're constantly demonized as making too much money, as being the ones responsible for the inequities in Chicago public schools. And it's not the fault of the teachers. This is how mayors have demonized them for decades. Go ahead.
I think if we were to have a representative from CTU win the Chicago mayoral's race, it could drastically change how exactly Chicago public schools are run in this city. It's long overdue that Chicago public schools are properly funded, and I hope that CTU can put something together. If not that, if they can't get a candidate to enter the race, perhaps they could find an ally within the current crop of mayors. I think probably most notably it'd have to be Jamal Green. I'm just going to throw him out there. That would probably be their best bet, unless, gentlemen, am I missing something that you think we need to address?
No, I was just looking at something in the dashboard here. I'm sorry, I was looking up. I was listening to what you were saying, Kit. No, I completely agree with you. You're right on the nail with that. Now, the article continues. Some dismiss the suggestion. The union came up short in 2019 when it backed Cook County President Tony Preckwinkle against Lori Lightfoot, who won in a landslide. Still, candidates are lining up for the CTU's endorsement, and the union has proven in other political battles that its money, army of members, and influence carries substantial weight.
Yeah, you can't.
Touches and go!
You have to go to war with Lightfoot, the Chicago teachers. Go ahead.
We're comparing Lori Lightfoot to Frankenstein's monster now.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Did I say
that? I just wanted to understand the transition that we're slowly.
Are you putting words in my mouth? No, actually, the transition had to do with my constant refrain: torches, pitchforks, and guillotines, when. However, the article does go on to say, as I was continuing after we came out of that little drop-in, CTU says you have to go to war with Lightfoot. They were arguably at their peak politically during the 2019 teacher strike, and under former President Karen Lewis, who was eyeing a mayoral bid when she was diagnosed with brain cancer in 2015. She was forced to step down and died last year. The pandemic has left the union somewhat battered after it faced competing factions that disagreed about how to safely bring staff and students back to school. Former U.S. Education Secretary Arnie Duncan didn't see the CTU as a threat when he considered jumping into the mayor's race earlier this year, said Peter Cunningham, Duncan's longtime confidant. Well, we dodged a bullet with Duncan not entering the race, thank Christ.
Yeah.
He's another piece of shit. Another neoliberal, Rahm Emanuel allied piece of shit. They made Chuy competitive, he said, referring to the U.S. Representative Jesus Chuy Garcia, who ran for mayor in 2015 against Rahm Emanuel after being recruited by the CTU. They did not seem to help Tony at all. They have a terrible track record. Cunningham is placing his bets on Lightfoot. As an incumbent, Lightfoot had more than $2.5 million on hand at the end of June. And guys, we do know money helps buy elections. The most of any candidate aside from businessman Willie Wilson, who was largely bankrolling his own campaign with $5 million. However, I think Willie's focus on the South Side isn't going to win that North Side vote Kit was talking about earlier. Yeah. Also, many think turnout will be low during the February voting, which usually benefits the incumbent. However, Cunningham said if anyone is going to beat her, it's going to be someone who's willing to go after Lightfoot in the public arena. You have to go to war with Lightfoot, he said. The CTU and Davis Gates have been willing to do that. CTU spent nearly $2.6 million over the last 3 years.
That's a lot of money.
On political activity and lobbying at the city, county, and state level, according to a filing unions must submit to the U.S. Department of Labor. Some of the money is spent directly on candidates through its two political action committees. In 2015, the CTU PACs contributed $339,832 to their candidate Garcia, and in 2019, $355,047 to Tony Preckwinkle, either through direct contributions or payments to vendors for campaign services. A CTU endorsement could mean hundreds of thousands of dollars from the union's PAC. Now, most importantly, and I'm coming to the end of this, CTU's endorsement signals that a candidate represents the values of the progressive left. I don't know if that's great these days, given the fact of how the word progressive has been co-opted and hijacked by people who are anything but progressive left, but no, it's a good buzzword to try and brand themselves. An endorsement offers considerable sway with other unions and community organizations, many of which are supported by the CTU Foundation. The American Federation of Teachers in 2015, following the lead of CTU, shelled out more than $1 million to Garcia. The AFT is CTU's parent organization. So anyway, the article goes on and on. Talks about her relationships that she's built with unions, but she hasn't really built one with the Chicago Teachers Union. Bailey said some of his members take umbrage with Lightfoot's handling of the pandemic and are grateful to the CTU for demanding greater protections. Many of them felt disrespected by the agencies they work for, like the school district and the park district. I think there was enough culpability to go around for everybody to say, listen, when you're trying to solve a problem, you need all the stakeholders at the table, and that includes our members who are on the ground, meaning the teachers. What's more, many on the left see the CTU as successful, even perceiving Garcia's 2015 mayoral loss as a win. Garcia, who was a county commissioner at the time, gained even wider name recognition after forcing a runoff against then incumbent Rahm Emanuel. Anyway, so yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if the CTU is going to be successful with whoever they decide to. Yeah. Well, they're endorsing this guy, but whoever else.
Well, Jerry, whoever they endorse, they have to not have skeletons in their closet. They have to have not angered the general public. And on that end, I think Toni Preckwinkle actually had a better chance of winning had she not passed that soda tax.
Yeah,
in my opinion, because that destroyed it for me. I wasn't going to vote for her when she was making my Green River soda cost X number of dollars more. Sorry.
Yeah, she shot herself in the dick. I mean, foot. Definitely shot herself in the foot. I don't know if she. I wonder if she and Lori would get into an argument over who has the bigger foot. Who has the bigger foot?
Who has the bigger cock?
Foot. I said foot. I was trying to be respectful. All right, I'm trying to get up the last a couple of stories here.
Sorry, let's go.
Yeah. I know it's getting late. I told you it was going to be a long one, Kit.
I know.
That's what she said.
Oh my god.
That's all because my stupid browsers are taking too long to. All right. So I love this story. And Ed, you're the one who shared this with me because you know how I see this woman.
She's a hero.
She's a hero. This comes to us from CWB Chicago. Woman stole parking enforcement agent's bike, ditched his ticket writing machine, prosecutors said. Raquel Simmons is facing a felony charge, but you have to wonder if a Chicago jury would ever convict her. Simmons, 23, is accused of stealing a Chicago Department of Finance ticket writer's bicycle and apparently disposing of his ticket writing machine.
Wait, hang on a second. Hold on, Jerry.
I know what you're going for. I am waiting.
Yes!
It happened in Streeterville on Friday afternoon. The ticket writer told police he parked his city. You know, what self-respecting person looking for a job would decide to go apply to be a ticket writer for the city of Chicago?
I mean, especially
how financially stressed you are.
I don't know how much ticket writers make, but there's other jobs out there that don't completely destroy your soul.
And you can look at yourself in the morning the next day without any shame. The ticket writer told police he parked his city-owned bike to write citations near the Magnificent Mile, and it was gone when he returned around 3:30 p.m. I love this woman. As the ticket agent, this is something I would do if I could run. Don't tell anybody. And I can't run, so I can't do it. As the ticketing agent spoke with his supervisor about the theft, Simmons pedaled down the street on the man's bike, which was emblazoned with city identifiers. Prosecutors said the city workers caught Simmons on the 600th block of North St. Clair and held her until police arrived. God, they're there to pick up someone stealing a ticket writer's bike, but can't seem to be in other places that are more important. Prosecutors said the bike supposedly worth $2,000 was not. Oh, come on. How is a bike worth $2,000?
Oh, get the out of here. What? What?
No. Some of those street mountain bike, some of those can get pretty pricey. That said, they're totally overpaying for those bikes.
Well, what are you saying, that the city overpays for things, overspends things, doesn't budget things properly within a reasonable amount of money so that they can actually put money elsewhere where it's needed? Is that what you're saying, Ed?
Yes!
Simmons' public defender said she is studying broadcasting at Roosevelt University. Judge Kelly McCarthy.
Okay. Can we bring her on the show?
You know what? I kind of want her on the show. Let's get her on for Chicago Corner.
I have a friend who's a public defender, and I have to ask her if she's representing Simmons. I mean, that would be a wonderful irony and coincidence. Coinky dink.
I mean, just as a guest, it'd be cool to get a podcast.
Not just as a guest. Not just as a guest. To honor her.
Obviously.
If you want to be a guest on our show, gosh darn it, we want you here on Chicago Corner.
We want you here, and we want to pay tribute to you.
Yes.
All right. So, Judge Kelly McCarthy ordered her to pay a $1,000 deposit towards bail to get out of jail.
Do we need to do GoFundMe?
I think so. I don't know if she's still in. Simmons also had a misdemeanor retail theft case pending, prosecutors said.
Retail
I
theft.
think we need to send this group to break her out.
Go!
Now,
Yes!
Jerry, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Jerry, hear me
Yes.
out here. But we need to get that scene of Gary Oldman, because when I say we need to get everyone, I want that infamous Gary Oldman scene of everyone
from The Professional.
Yeah.
Everyone!
How quickly we get everyone? Everyone. Northsiders, Southsiders, Westsiders. Get everyone. Come on. We're going to bust her out of jail. Come on, everybody. Let's go. It'll be a great bonding moment for the city. It'll be a very good bonding moment. Come on, man. Let's do this. Let's go. Let's get her out.
I agree. Now, on a somewhat related note, somebody on Twitter, Charles Preston, shared, I feel a Chicago mayoral candidate can win the next election by solely promising to abolish booting cars. And look who stepped up. Look who stepped up. Friend of the show, Jamal Green. Done. Ban the boot. For sure a policy I'll be releasing soon.
Good.
Yeah, we actually have that inside the Chicago Corner Manifesto already.
We do indeed. We do indeed.
Okay. All right, then.
All right, so just some housekeeping to do here at the end of the show. I already shared how you can help migrants arriving in Chicago from Texas at the top. We did a story last Friday regarding the Weiss hospital occupation. And turns out that, of course, you know, we kind of expected this to happen. The cops went in and busted it up and chased everybody away. I will read from the article as reported by Block Club Chicago. Reporter Joe Ward. Protesters camped for 11 days on a former Weiss Hospital parking lot set to be turned into apartments. Police removed them on Wednesday. Go away, ad. Be gone. No, don't
be gone.
Don't. You click on one thing and suddenly it activates another thing. All right, activists camping at an uptown development site were removed from the property Wednesday. Police removed the activists about 8 a.m. Wednesday, telling the group they were trespassing on private property, the protesters said. Friend of the show, Kathy Powers, was amongst those protesters. Most of the protesters grabbed their belongings and moved from the lot. 3 remained on the site and were temporarily detained and cited for trespassing, the protesters and police said. Now, you know, they're beginning construction on that parking lot, Kit, and you know they don't have a permit yet. We talked about this before, right? No permit. We're starting to work. A gate at the entrance of the former. They can tell everybody to go away for trespassing, but they can let the construction company begin without the permit. A gate at the entrance of the former parking lot was locked shut. Personnel who appeared to be from development firm Lincoln Property Company remained in the fenced-off site, protesters said. The occupation was an attempt to stop a controversial building project. The neighbors and activists protesting the project said they are not done making noise. We've been able to generate an enormous sense of solidarity that cemented our understanding this was a very undemocratic process and that the community overwhelmingly rejects the development, said Patrick Baranovskis, one of the development site occupiers. We're going to be resisting in other ways. After being removed from the property, the group members set their belongings up along the Wilson Avenue sidewalk. The protesters remained on the sidewalk just outside the development site, holding signs and chanting at the corner of Wilson and Clarendon Avenues. Now, this is not just about, hey, we don't want a luxury high-rise going up here, although that's a part of it. The longer-term concern is that once this luxury high-rise is put up, is erected, that's what she said, with only 8 affordable units in it, it's not completely out of the realm of possibility that the new property owner of the hospital might decide to shut down the hospital or sell the hospital so that they can tear that down and build more luxury high rises next to it. I mean, it's not confirmed, but this is a pattern that happens. And as they followed the developers and the change of ownership to from Weiss Hospital to the new company that owns it, the new healthcare conglomerate that owns it, and shutting down of the parking lot and this construction across the street, the larger, longer term concern is that this could lead to loss of an important and crucial healthcare center within the uptown community. I mean, it's a local hospital that they could lose the more this development goes on. The group members said that they will march to Alderman James Kappelman, who helped shepherd this along, Alderman James Kappelman's 46th Ward office, to further protest the development. Cares Kathy, we're rallying tomorrow. They want to remove the tents in the park to build a bird sanctuary. After chasing all the people out of the neighborhood by getting rid of SRO housing, putting up more expensive apartments that elevate the rental costs all across the neighborhood, so people who don't have those means have to go live in tents. Their next move after that is still being determined, group leaders said Wednesday morning. Police had visited the encampment before, including on Saturday, when protesters said they were told by authorities they were trespassing, they said. On Friday, contractors for Lincoln Property began erecting construction fencing around the site, leading protesters to think that their removal might be imminent. A spokesperson for Lincoln Property did not immediately respond to a request for comment Wednesday. So that's what's happening in Uptown, and I got your email today, Kathy, and never, ever, ever think I am not paying attention to what you share with me, dear. You should know by now that I do. In fact, that's what inspired me to come out and shoot some interviews last Friday, covering the story there. So you're on our radar.
A bird sanctuary?
Yeah, because we...
Hinky. What does that mean, Vince? Hinky.
Oh, strange.
Weird. Why don't you say strange or weird? I mean, hinky, that has no meaning.
We say hinky. I don't want you guys using words around me that got no meaning.
Yeah, Crapman. I call him Crappleman. No permit, shut it down. So that's all I got, guys. It's Labor Day on Monday. We did have a link in the show notes. We're going to talk a little bit about the history of the Federation of Labor here in Chicago, but I think people can read about that on their own with the linked story in the show notes. Anything you gentlemen would like to talk about or share before we head out for the weekend?
I want everyone to have a safe Labor Day weekend. Please be careful out there, especially to my fellow Chicagoans. I am just going to be, taking care of myself, and Harlan's Media. Yes, it will be live on Monday, so be sure to check it out.
I'm happy to see that the beard is returning.
Yes, the beard will return. Folks, it's coming back. So everyone just calm down. Now everything is kind of growing a little bit more even. So there, okay?
As far as Kit's beard goes, just calm down.
Just calm down.
All right, Ed. Anything you want to share with us before we depart?
Yes, this. And also, I just wanted to tell everybody, or to remind everyone going into this Labor Day weekend, your labor has value.
Agreed.
Absolutely. I'm wrestling with that on some fronts myself with potential editing gigs coming up, and remember the conversation we had with Kira on Tuesday about what website? Yes, and we're also promoting the Mud Queens, but let me kind of get back to my point here. Remember when we were talking about, who was it? One of our Alder people hiring a web developing site, and it cost what, $60,000 for his website? Over $60,000. And I was
a lot.
Yeah, and I'm like, what the hell are those web designers charging? And Kira shared with us what web developers make by the hour, which is like more than I make as a 25 plus year editing veteran. And I'm constantly asked by people to like knock my rate down. I'm just like, yes, our labor is worth something. And don't anybody tell you that it's not, because when you accept people who are diminishing your value, not only does it affect your bottom line and ability to pay your bills, but it does have, I think, it causes an inordinate amount of stress on your self-worth mentally.
Yep.
Very much so. So, all right, gentlemen, listen.
29.
What's that?
Kathy says Jules charging $2.29 for a bottle of water.
No.
That's a lot of money for water.
That's too much.
$2.29?
That's a lot of money.
That's my response. Is when someone says I got to pay $2.29 for a bottle of freaking water. Get the frick out of here.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Gene, thank you for participating tonight. I think that you provided some really, really important thoughts and opinions that contributed to the show. And remember, everybody, we want you involved in the show. Chicago Corner is not just about us sharing the news. It's about all of you sharing your opinions and views as well. And we will continue to cultivate that relationship with you. And thank you for your participation. In the meantime, everybody, please, as you go into the Labor Day weekend, stay safe, watch out for each other, be vigilant, take care of each other, and most importantly, stay safe this Labor Day weekend. I hope to see you all next Tuesday when I return with Kira McCown headlining the show, and I will also be back the following Friday. So until we meet again, remember, if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner. Stay safe, Chicago.
Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.